Good morning, everybody. It's Danielle from High Heels to Hay Bales, and today I'm going to try something new and start doing videos kind of throughout the growing season, as well as when I make some of my kitchen goodies, as I call them. So today I'm going to be planting radishes, carrots, sunflowers, sweet peas, and dark Detroit red beets, as well as some onion sets, which I actually purchased yesterday. So basically this year I decided that I was going to give these seed tapes a try. I never actually used a seed tape before, but I thought it would be kind of interesting to see how they grow. I do have to tell you, last year in the fall I planted carrots to overwinter in my garden, and it was the most comical thing you've ever seen in your life. When I went to harvest them, they were about the size of a pea, and they never actually grew. With that being said, and the birds crowing, and you'll probably hear cars and car doors slamming because I live behind a park any minute. So aside from that, just let's get started and we'll begin planting the radishes in this bed here. So one thing I forgot to mention is, according to the biodynamic calendar for North America, which is where I live, today, April 12th, it's a Sunday, is a day to plant root vegetables. So that hence the reason why I'm planting the carrots, the radish, and the beetroot today. I don't always follow biodynamic gardening, but I just got into it after a course that I took at the Midsummer Farm in Warwick, New York. And Barbara, the owner of the farm, basically told us the importance of it and how you get a better yield from your vegetables. And so that is why I'm going to try my best to start planting with a biodynamic calendar. Now, I work Monday through Friday, so it's a little bit hard for me to sometimes, plant after work. So sometimes things will be off, but there's nothing I can really do about that. So the peas, today is not obviously a day for peas because it's a root day, but I'm going to plant them anyway. Okay, so basically what I did is I measured out how long the seed tape needed to be. So these are 4-foot beds, and these are probably cut to about, I would say, almost 4 feet. I mean, just shy of maybe an inch or so. And the reason why I do that is to give the little radish seedlings on the end a chance to expand. If you go right to the edge and you have seeds at the very edge of the tape, the radishes at the end aren't going to really be able to grow because there's nowhere for them to move. So usually they say to plant radishes in rows 6 inches apart. I really don't do that because I don't let my radishes get overly big. So for me, I'm going with about, I don't know, this looks like roughly, I'm terrible at measurements, roughly about 4 inches apart, give or take. So basically I lay them out just so that I can get an idea where I'm going to plant them. And I also make these, these markers that say the name of the vegetable or fruit that I planted, which in this case is radish, the name of the species, which is cherry bell, and then the date that I plant them. And the reason why I do this is because I keep a gardening journal where I write down month by month, actually, and week by week in some cases, what I plant, and then I write down next to it the day that it's supposed to be mature by. So for these, I know that it's 22 days to maturity. So in 22 days, at the beginning of May, I'll know that these should be ready to be harvested. So it tells you that you should plant them about you should cover them with a 1/2 inch of soil. I've learned that anytime they say to do that, I still make a little bit of a furrow in the soil and put them down and then cover them. I've seen people put the soil on top of them and mound it that way, but I kind of feel better if they're dug into a little bit of a trench. So basically I'm going to run my my little spade here down the soil, and I dug this over yesterday. Oh, there's a big piece of manure right there. I dug this over yesterday and put a fresh layer of manure on top, so it should be pretty much workable. So I put it down like this, and then I'm going to sprinkle the soil back over it. And it says about 1/2 inch, looks like a 1/2 inch to me. I mean, I don't know. That look like a 1/2 inch to you? it'll do. So basically I start from the middle. This way, what happens is if you start going from the edge, if you're a crafter, you'll know this. If you start working at the edge of something, like especially with ribbon, it will start to bubble up, and you don't want that to happen. You want these to have as much contact with the soil as possible. So I basically start in the middle and tack it down, and then I work my way up. So there we go. One row planted, and then I just firm that down a little bit with my shovel. And then I'm going to move on to the second and third rows. I did decide to put 3 rows in because when I thought about it, 22 days from now, I'm really not going to have anything else in here. So I'm just going to go with it and plant the actual 3 rows. Okay, so there we have it. I planted the 3 rows. I covered them over with soil about 1/2 inch once I dug them into their little trenches. I have my plant markers on the side. Now all that's left to do is give them a good watering. And in about 4 to 5, 6, 7 days the most, you should see little sprouts popping up. And at that point, you'll know that they have germinated. Some may be slower than others, but by a week, you really should have a good idea of what germinated and what did not. And if it didn't germinate, don't worry. That happens even if you're planting seeds and not in a seed tape form. Okay, so now on to the beetroot. So these are the Detroit dark red. I've never grown these before. I forget the name of the ones that I grew last year and the year before, but this year I'm going to try. Like I said, I didn't get an order in with Botanical Gardens quick enough, but these are the Detroit red, and basically I'm going to plant these in this bed right here. Now, this bed was actually where I planted my potatoes last year, and I gave the potatoes plenty of room to grow. I was piling the soil on top as the tops grew, and I have to tell you, it was the most pitiful potato harvest you've ever seen. I think out of this entire container, and it's probably about, I would say 3 feet tall, I got about 5 pounds of potatoes, which I was expecting a lot more, but it was actually success in terms of me getting potatoes out of it, but it wasn't a overabundance of potatoes like I had hoped for. This year I'm going to actually use this lovely thing to plant my beetroot in. So you're supposed to plant beetroot 3 inches apart because your actual beetroot, once it grows, should be about 3 inches in diameter. So I'm kind of going to go in a circular pattern and work my way in and plant these seeds. So they need to be in full sun. And if you're wondering why half of this is shaded, my pool, I have an above ground pool, is actually next to this. So it's a little bit shaded right now, but it's still early, and once the sun comes overhead, it will be in full sun. So I am going to plant these, and like I started to say, they will mature in about a month, 2 months. So we're in April. They should be ready to harvest in June before it gets too hot here in the Northeast. And once I plant them in about 2 or 3 weeks, I should see some shoots starting to come up. So let's get started with planting these. Back to the seed planting. So like I said, they need 3 inches to grow, so you figure I go in 3 inches in all directions from where I figure a seedling would be. And it's a funny thing, my blog is named From High Heels to Hay Bales, and to plant 3 inches, I think of my 3-inch heels. It's sad, I know, but it works for me. So I think about how big they are, and then I start to dig a little trench, same thing, a 1/2 inch deep, all the way around this little, I don't even know what this is actually. I think they said it was a garden waste bucket, but it looks more like a pop-up hamper to me. So I basically come around 3 inches. And with this one, I'm not going to put markers where I put the vegetables. I'm just going to put 1. Okay, so I dug that, and then I'm going to dig again. So 3 inches from there, I should be able to get another row right here. And then what I do is I pick up a seed very carefully. It sounds like rocket science, but it's not. Just kidding. And I space them out 3 inches apart. So I'll put 1 in, and I'll go 3 inches and another, and I keep going around, and I do that until I get all the way around. And some people rather sprinkle and thin, and like I said with the carrots, I'm not much of a thinner because I end up pulling too much out, and that could be a problem. Okay, so my spacing is getting a little off here. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, so filming a video is not the easiest for me. I got 14 on this outer ring, and I'm probably not going to get very many on this inner ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got 5 on the inner ring. So I got just under 20 beetroot seeds planted in here. And you know what? That's a great amount. I eat them, and my mother eats them, and my husband definitely does not eat them. So I think that that will be a good amount for us for this time of year. In the fall, I do intend on planting a lot more of them. So what I'll do is that raised bed that I was talking about that I'm going to be building, I'm probably going to plant some in there, as well as the 4x4 beds that I have over here next to my, where I planted the carrots, and the one next to it. So now that those are in, we're basically going to cover them over with some soil the same way we did with the carrots. Very gently, just push the soil back over. I'm so happy that I was able to use this planter for something else. You know, it sounds kind of funny to have 3 foot worth of soil, 3 feet deep, I should say, for beets that don't grow very deeply, but you know, I figured it would be a good use for it. The soil is nice and soft in here. They have plenty of room to grow. There's no rocks. I mean, it should be a great place for them to grow. I'm going to grab my carrot seed tape that we talked about. So it's this one right here. It's organic carrot seeds, short and sweet. So here's the thing. These are 4-inch roots that are actually going to grow. Now, you can grow carrots that are huge, and some people actually do that and they enter them into contests. But for me, I don't have pots big enough. Actually, I could probably grow some mighty ones in here, but I want to grow a shorter variety just because I feel like they're sweeter. I have an easier time pulling them out, and I can grow them in different varieties of pots. I don't need to use one this big, and you'll see with the next set that I plant, the pot isn't as big, and I'll be able to still get good carrots. They're only 4 inches long. I don't need something super deep, and I'll be able to grow them successfully. So let's get started with getting these ready to go in the dirt. Okay, so basically I laid them out, measured my seed tapes. Why is that making that noise right now? I guess it doesn't want me to plant carrots. Anyway, it's very distracting. So anyway, I measured my seed tape, and then I cut it to size. I put 2 smaller pieces here so there's no space that's wasted. I'm sorry, not unwasted. And I'm going to take my shovel again, and I'm going to dig myself a little trough, and then cover again like we did with the seed tape that we used for the radishes. So dig myself a little trench. So let me just cover up some areas that look like they are showing. I just poke them down, cover it up. Perfect. Grab my garden marker. I forgot to tell you, I did put a garden marker in the beets as well. So here is my carrots. They're short and sweet, are the variety, and I planted them on April 12th. So for the sugar peas that I'm planting, it's the Sugar Daddy version of these peas here, organic peas by Burpee. And they're going to take about 2 months and a few days to fully mature, which will bring me into June. And some people plant their peas indoors in March, or on St. Patrick's Day is really the day that most people here in the Northeast plant them. But I'm going to direct sow them, and you can direct sow peas outdoors pretty much April through May. So I'm going to give them, it's April, like I said, I'm going to give them a planting today, even though it's not the right time on the biodynamic calendar to plant them. I will be busy on the days that I'm supposed to plant them, so we're just going to go with it. So basically what I'm going to do is take my shovel, like I've done before. So these need to be planted 2 inches deep. So this is going to be a really deep trough that we're going to have to dig. And so basically I loosened up the soil. I'm going to spread it around like this. And like I said before, don't worry about the leaf matter. It will decompose and it's good for your soil. And you're going to go down 2 inches. 2 inches is a lot, so you're really going to have to push down into the dirt. And that looks about 2 inches to me. So if you never planted peas before, some people soak theirs overnight. I don't. I just take them, I put them in the ground and let nature do its thing. So these are pretty much, if you've never grown them before, if you opened up a pea shoot and took out the peas and let them shrivel up and dry, that's basically what you get. And these were actually left on the vine to fully mature, and they shrivel up on there, and then you're able to actually have seed peas for the next growing season if you're interested in doing it yourself. So I'm going to plant them in the hole 6 inches in the trench, 6 inches apart. Once they start coming up, I'm going to cover them with a little piece of mesh, and this way it'll keep the birds from actually getting in there and eating them. Let's get started with planting these. So basically these, once we plant them, they will start to sprout in about 10 days to 2 weeks. And you're going to plant these about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep. So basically what I usually do is just take my finger, drill a little hole down in my flower pot, plant my seed, and then that's it. I'll cover them back up, water them, and then keep them in sun. So you're going to take the seed, and if you look at it, there's a pointy side and a rounded side. The pointy side goes up because that's the point that the flower shoot will come from. So I take my sunflower, drop it in the hole, make sure it's facing pointy side up, which this one wasn't. So pointy side up, I stick it in there, I cover it with some dirt, and then I'm going to water these. These should be good to harvest. Actually, I'm not going to harvest them, but they should really be growing in about 10 to 15 days. They'll start growing, and then I should have beautiful plants by the end of, I would say by the end of June, they should start really being mighty plants, and then I should have some flowers in the month of July. So that's it for these, and last that we have to do today is plant the onion sets. So I'm going to move these into a seed tray, and then I'm going to get the onion sets ready to go. So these are the onion sets that I've purchased, and they are going to be the red onion variety. Now, I don't really like onion too much in my salad, but I do know that onions have a lot of medicinal and great herbal properties. So I'm going to try to make the best of it and start using them in my salad. Is you want to go through your onion sets, and you want to take out the biggest and the beefiest of the onions. And you can plant the ones that are a little more thinner, but if you're going to do it in a limited space like I have, you're going to want to plant the ones that look the healthiest. Also, you're going to inspect them for mold. So if you see spots, this is actually dirt here, but if you see a moldy spot, you don't want to use that one because you're not going to get a good root vegetable out of it. Also, if you look, I made some holes, and you can see the black dots, you know, there's one, and there's one, and throughout. And those are the holes that I'm going to actually put my onion sets in. So you're going to put them root down, and then you're going to fill in the hole loosely with soil. Don't pack it down too much. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick pan of all of the onion sets that I've planted. And it's kind of hard to see. I'll zoom in for you. So I planted about almost 40 of them, and basically what I'll do is if they grow well, like I said, next year I'll plant more of them, and then also if the garlic grows well, I'll plant more of that in this area too. If you're interested in following my blog, the web address is www.fromhighheelstohaybales.blogspot.com, and on there I post recipes and all natural skincare products and gardening gardening blogs, and as well as I'm just starting to do videos. So if you enjoy the videos, let me know and I'll expand them more to cooking. And something that I'm looking forward to doing this year is to actually take you along on my gardening journey, as well as post farm to table recipes and cooking tutorials based on what I harvest from my garden. That's all I have for today. Please comment below, like my channel, and subscribe for more videos, and I look forward to seeing you next time.